What's up, guys? This is Manoj Koptani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. So, guys, that's the 13th video presentation. Herein, we will be talking about the topic relating to equity analysis and valuation. By now, we have already covered our 12 video presentations on the same topic. This is the second last presentation in which we'll be discussing and understanding a few more basic concepts relating to equity analysis and valuation. Post that, we'll be discussing and understanding as to what are those kind of questions which have been already asked in CA final examination in the previous examination papers. So therein you'll get the entire clarity as to how this particular topic will help you up in solving different related questions while you being there in the examination hall. So perfect, guys, with this we are all set to go with this particular presentation. But before starting, I would like to remind you about your promise, and that was regular and recurring revisions. Time and again, guys, do ponder about this fact very well and do ensure that you guys will revise the topics time and again so as to ensure that you guys don't flunk or see any kind of failure during your CA final examinations. So with that hope and belief on you, let's start with the presentation of the day, and that will be with the topic relating to value added approach. So before starting out and before telling you something about this presentation, I would like to simply provide you some kind of glance about this particular presentation, and that will be totally relating to the topic of value added approaches. So guys, what does value addition means? Let's first understand that. It simply means that I procure something out of the market in the form of some kind of raw material or some kind of normal material, okay, and then I particularly transform the shape of it, provide something addition to that product, okay, and then finally I sell that product or transfer that product to someone else in some better shape as to what I previously received it in a previous manner. For example, I purchased or procured cotton from the market, raw cotton, okay. Finally, I transform that raw cotton from its raw shape to its final finished good by transferring that particular raw cotton into garments, cotton garments, cotton. So what did I do? I simply add that kind of value to that raw cotton by making it just from raw cotton to a cotton garment. So that was my kind of value addition to it. Okay, so that is basically the value addition that raw cotton got once I started manufacturing the garments. I procured that raw cotton at a price of, let's say, 100 rupees a kg, and then I finally made garments out of it and sold those particular garments, all, if I'll have to sum it up in a totality, at rupees 10,000 rupees. Okay, let's suppose. So that is the kind of value addition that raw cotton got once it was used in the form of making the finished goods. That was the garment. So that is the value addition. Now, applying the same kind of concept, if I'll have to narrate you a brief example for the shareholders or different kind of stakeholders for a company, value added approach is basically the kind of approach wherein we get to derive the amount or the value which we provide to different stakeholders of our company in the form of, after deducting all the expenditures, all the kind of interest, all kind of other related expenditures which will be incurred while going about taking care of the business. And finally, what is that something which actually I am providing to my company after clearing all my dues and debts? So that is basically the kind of value that I'll be generating once I am free from each and every kind of obligation. That is basically called the value added as far as the corporate or company's point of view is concerned. So primarily in this particular video presentation, I'll be covering about four major approaches, four major value added parameters with which we can sum it up or cover this particular topic. So the first one would be economic value added. Next one would be shareholder value added. Third one would be market value added. And the last one would be chop shop approach. So now let's understand each one of them one by one. Let's start with economic value added. So guys, what is this economic value added? Let's understand that first. So it is basically a kind of performance metric, okay, wherein we calculate the creation of shareholders' value. It distinguishes itself from traditional financial performance metrics such as net profit, earning per share. EVA is basically the calculation of what profits remain after the company's cost of capital, both debt and equity. Once the same is being deducted out of its operating profit, then we get the economic value added. Let's understand it with a very basic kind of example. So this is all about economic value added. Okay, economic value added is a performance metric that calculates the creation of shareholder value. EVA is the calculation of what profits remain after the cost of company's capital is deduced from its operating profit, and that will be both debt as well as equity. The four steps. Now that was the complete understanding for economic value added. Addition approach, okay. And how about like going for the calculation of EVA? So EVA can be calculated into four basic steps. These are the simplest steps in which you can simply go about calculating the EVA of any kind of company. The first step comes in, that will be calculation of the net operating profit after tax. In our normal terminology, we call it as NOPAT, net operating profit after tax. Then we'll have to calculate the total invested capital. That is the amount which we'll be investing in our business, the kind of total investing capital. Third one will be determination of the weighted average cost of capital. That is WACC. And the fourth one, the last step, would be calculation of EVA by applying the formula, or I should say a better concept, as NOPAT minus WACC into invested capital. And guys, believe me, that's just not a formula. It's a thorough concept with which we can derive the economic value added for any of the company. Okay, so I won't consider it as a formula. That is simply and merely a very good concept. If you take into account this particular EVA, that is equivalent to NOPAT minus WACC percentage into the total invested capital, you'll get to know one thing, that NOPAT is basically meaning the kind of profits that you'll be earning after paying any kind of taxes. That will be NOPAT. Okay, and out of that you will be deducting the kind of amount that you are required or supposed to pay in the form of required return to all those stakeholders or shareholders from whom you have actually taken up the money while investing the same into your business. So that was the total invested capital, and for that you'll have to pay some kind of weighted average cost of capital. Obviously, if you are actually taking out something from the market, you'll have to repay them. So that will be the basically the amount which you'll have to repay to the stakeholders of the firm. So once you'll be deducting those obligations that you have to actually incur from the NOPAT, that is net operating profit after tax, you'll get the economic value added for any kind of company. So that's how, it's not a kind of formula, it's actually a concept. So you will be getting the EVA in such forms. So that was all relating to the topic of economic value added. But before concluding this topic, I would like to provide you some kind of brief examples so that you get the complete understanding as to how to go about while solving this question in your examination. And that example would be, here's the example. So let's suppose a firm requires an investment of rupees 37 million in the form of its fixed assets. The net working capital to the extent of rupees 5 million is needed. If the weighted average cost of capital for the firm is 8.5%, and if the firm pays a corporate tax of 40%, then what is the economic value added for the firm if it earns an EBIT, that is earning before interest and taxes, of rupees 6.375 million? So now let's solve this question. In this particular question, we are actually requiring a total operating capital, that will be the net operating working capital plus net fixed asset. We'll be actually requiring this particular amount in as total working operating capital, and that will be 37 million plus 5 million. That will be equals to rupees 42 million. Okay, in this particular case, if we'll be applying the concept, that will be EBIT minus taxes, each and every kind of taxes, that will be the NOPAT, net operating profit after tax. From the same, we'll be deducting WACC percentage into total operating capital. That is the amount which we will be like supposed to pay back to the stakeholders from whom we'll be taking up the money. So in this case, that will be equivalent to NOPAT minus WACC into the invested capital. That will be 63 million, 63 lakh and 75,000, multiplying the same with 1 minus 0.40, that is the corporate taxes rate. From the same, we'll be deducting 0.885 into 42 million. 0.885 would be the weighted average cost of capital. So we'll get the figures as rupees 2,55,000 as the economic value added for that company. So guys, that was all relating to the topic of economic value added, and this is a particular example with which you can get the best kind of understanding as to how to go about while solving any kind of question relating to economic value added while into the examination hall. So guys, that was all relating to this particular topic. Let's move to our next one, that will be shareholders value added. So guys, shareholder value added is basically on the same line to what economic value added approach is going to actually offer you up. So that's exactly on the same track, same wavelength, same kind of lines, with the sole difference of one thing, that economic value added is having its kind of vision relating to taking care of short term, single period, or historical analysis into account. Whereas in case of shareholder value added, they basically take out the forecasting and reflects the changes on the basis of the long term operating strategies and prospects of any kind of company. That's the primarily sole difference between the two. They are actually going to offer you the same kind of results. In case of EVA, you need to go for NOPAT, and out of the same, you'll have to deduct weighted average cost of capital on the basis of the total operating capital. Whereas in case of shareholder value added approach, you'll get NOPAT, and after that NOPAT, you'll be like have to deduct all the cost of capital. So shareholders value added is basically expressed as a company's capital cost from stock and bond issues, which is being subtracted from its net operating profit after tax. So that will be shareholder value added equals to NOPAT minus cost of capital. Shareholder value added basically represents the kind of economic profits generated by the business above and beyond all the kind of minimum required return by all the providers of capital. That is usually called as weighted average cost of capital, WACC. The SVA, basically shareholder value added approach, is a methodology which recognizes the equity shareholders as well as the debt financiers need to be compensated for the bearing of the investment risk in any kind of business. The shareholder value added is just a normal general value measurement that can help to show how equity is balanced against the real profits from a company. So the kind of basic difference, if I have to like tell you guys, between the two, shareholder value added as in comparison with economic value added, I will simply go about that the difference is quite straightforward, and that sensitivities using EVA as the more basic one and the more straightforward one using the single period or the historical data analysis, and therefore they reflect their annual changes in performance. Whereas in case of shareholder value added, or if I'll have to take care of like it as discounted cash flow value drivers, they are basically more forecasted and the focused one, reflecting their changes in the value of the company's long term operating strategies and prospects. EVA is a kind of like internal measure that highlights the increase in wealth to the shareholders by investing into the company's share. It uses adjusted after tax profits, less adjusted capital invested, times by the weighted average cost of capital. Whereas in case of shareholder value analysis, it basically identifies the business value, which is being defined as the present value of all the future cash flows, which can be potentially available to become dividends plus any kind of investment securities to get that kind of organization sell for cash without impairing any of its performance, less of any of its debts. And therefore, guys, to increase that shareholder value, the management usually should improve the present value of the future cash flows or reduce its debt. Subsequently, the difference relates to the fact that EVA ignores any kind of future cash flows, whereas shareholder value added takes those into account. So that is the primarily basic difference between the two. One is more concerned about its present performance, whereas The other one, that is shareholder value added, is basically concerned about the long term operating strategies by taking into account all those future cash flows that will be available with the company. That's the basic difference between the two. And probably that's the sole one if I'll have to like primarily tell. So that was all relating to shareholder value added. Shareholder value added differs from EVA. To increase the shareholder value, management should improve the present value of its future cash flows or reduce its debt. The difference relates to the fact that EVA ignores any kind of future cash flows, whereas SVA takes these into account. So, guys, that was all relating to the topic of shareholder value added. I guess you got the complete understanding and clarity relating to economic value added as well as the difference it shares with shareholder value added as well. Now, let's move to our next topic, and that will be relating to market value added. What does this market value added basically means? So guys, this market value added is another kind of important concept that was developed by Stern Stewart and Company. Stern Stewart and Company is still today having that kind of copyright and the trademark to use the market value added approach formula or the concept. It is still having within. And it is closely tied to the concept of stockholder value added, that is called shareholder value added, and the economic value added as well. It is basically the kind of calculation that shows the difference between the market value of the company and the capital contributed by the investors. So, market value added is another kind of concept, important one that was developed by Stern Stewart and Company, and it is closely tied to the concept of stockholders value added and economic value added approach, which we just shared in my last slides. Market value added is equivalent to market capitalization minus all capital claims of investors. Market value added. Again, this is something which I was about to tell you guys. So, market value added is not a performance metric just like EVA, but instead it's a wealth metric, which is basically helping you in measuring the level of the value a company has accumulated over time. As a company performs well over the time, it will have some kind of retained earnings. This will improve the book value of the company's share, and the investors will likely bid up the prices of those shares in expectation of the future earnings, causing the company's market value to rise all the time. And as this occurs, the difference between the company's market value and the capital contributed by the shareholders, investors, it's the MVA, which represents the excess price tag the market assigns to the company as a result of its past operating successes. And that's how, guys, it actually works. This way, market value added approach is basically concerned while developing not just the performance metric by providing you the wealth metric in which the company is likely to grow in the future years to come. The difference between the company's market value and the capital contributed by the investors represents that excessive price tag the company market is going to assign to the company as a result of its past operating successes. That was the topic relating to market value added approach. So guys, if you just consider these sole topics which I'm sharing with you, which I'm trying my hard to make you understand, and so that you get the complete clarity with those kind of concepts. These are the basic questions which are usually asked in 4 marks as the 7th question for CA final examination. So wherein you can simply go about and writing these 4 points, and that will be like more than sufficient for any kind of examiner to provide you full on full. So go about it, get the concept clarity right all the time. Don't go with the ratification or any kind of sort of stuff wherein you just need to remember the concepts. Always understand them first. Then only you can gradually retain and remember them for long. So that was the major 3 value added approaches: economic value added approach, shareholder value added approach, and finally the market value added approach. I'll be concluding my video with the last topic of the day, and that will be chop shop approach. So guys, as the name suggests, basically the chop shop basically it's an approach. It's this particular approach is going to go about taking care of the valuation attempts to identify the multi-industry companies that are undervalued and would be worth more if separated into parts. This kind of thing which comes to my mind whenever this example for chop shop approach comes to me, I usually take up by telling you with the example of Vijay Mallya. Okay, guys. So in case of Vijay Mallya is having a very diversified kind of business. He was into airline, he was into liquor business, he was into hotel business, he was into property business as well. Okay. So, if you talk about the airlines business, we are all aware of the fact that Kingfisher Airlines were that flunk badly, and it's into at the verge of liquidation at any time that can be happening. Okay, but if you'll be like separating that kind of airline business with the kind of its beverages business, that was United Beverages. Therein also they provide brands of beer like Kingfisher, Royal Challengers is another brand of it, providing whiskey. So the drinking business, whatever this beverages business was working superb, and even today the products is selling like anything. So if we'll talk about these two businesses, which are having those kind of varied experiences, one is going up, up and up, another one is actually flunking like anything. So herein this particular chop shop approach can be used, wherein if we get the complete understanding of the complete Vijay Mallya's empire, we can simply say that the same is now undervalued. Okay, the same is not having any kind of valuation, and each and everybody is going to take out his or her money which has been like invested in his business. However, if someone wants to like value any of his particular business, I'll simply say about go for valuation of the beverages business. Therein you can get the best kind of valuation because United Beverages still going very well as far as the alcohol brands are concerned. Kingfisher is still not going hands down in any of the manner. So certainly that will be the business wherein you can simply go about investing. Okay, but if we'll talk about investing in any of the airline business, definitely I'll say no. Currently, all the airline business, all the aviation based shares, whether it's Jet Airways, whether it's Indigo. Indigo was once going about for more than 900 rupees. From the last 1 month, it's stocking at a price of around 800 to 850. So that's down. In case of Jet Airways also, the stock has gone below the last bar that was 370, 380. It's still walking around like 360, 370 and anything. So valuation of any kind of aviation business is going down nowadays. But in case of beverages, that's highly in demand because that's relating to the condition that it was New Year, it was Christmas, and the complete celebration for winter is going on. So definitely the stock prices for any of the company relating to the alcohol brands is going to get up because this is the main market season. So herein these kind of principles for chop shop approach can be used wherein you can simply attempt to identify the multi-industry companies that are undervalued and will be worth more if the same is being separated into parts. And as such, this approach usually encompasses the idea of attempting to buy the assets below their replacement cost. That is why this approach is being used into this consideration. This approach is based on the premise first, that the market as a whole may be undervalued. Second, the undervaluation may be proportional to the number of segments into the company. Third, the stock with the low institutional holdings may be inefficiently priced. And the fourth one, that the company's industries may fall into distinct patterns of valuation. That is all about chop shop approach. So the chop shop approach to valuation attempts to identify multi-industry companies that are undervalued and would be worth more if separated into parts. This approach encompasses the idea of attempting to buy the assets below their replacement cost. This approach is based on the premise number one, the market as a whole may be undervalued. Number two, undervaluation may be proportional to the number of segments in a company. Stocks with low institutional holdings may be inefficiently priced. And the fourth one is as industries may fall into distinct patterns of valuation. So, guys, assume that a company has like three divisions. I just discussed with you an example of Mr. Vijay Mallya. Now comes another example for you, just to make you understand and provide you the complete clarity with chop shop approach. Assume there is a company with three divisions: paper, hotel, and cigarette. I'm talking about none other than ITC over here. So ITC is basically having about its major businesses. The three ones comes in paper. Classmate is one of the register for the same. Hotel industry. You have seen ITC Maurya, ITC Maratha, ITC Grand Chola in Chennai as well. And the last one comes in as cigarette. Cigarette is its major business, tobacco business, ITC. Under this approach, if we use the price earning valuation approach, we would be applying the respective PE values for each division to find the total market value. The market may trade paper companies at let's say 10 times, hotel based companies at 8 times, and the cigarette based companies as 15 times individually. So we would apply these to three divisions to find out the total value of the company using all the three different parameters in that way. And that will help us with the kind of this chop shop approach, because it's a multi-industry company which is being undervalued, and the same would be worth more if separated into parts like paper, holding, and cigarette in this case. And then finally we'll be like accumulating all the three valuation, and we'll get the total value of the company in such a manner. And that's how this chop shop approach actually works, guys. This was all about the chop shop approach. In today's presentation, we did discuss about economic value added, we did discuss about shareholder value added, market value added, and finally the chop shop approach. I hope you got the entire clarity with respect to all those four topics for the day. In the next presentation of mine, I'll be discussing about the remaining miscellaneous topics relating to the topic of equity analysis and valuation. Thereafter, we'll start discussing about the major questions which have been asked in CA final examination in the past papers, and therein you'll get an entire idea as to how to go about solving the questions in your examination. I'll be concluding my video with a dose of motivation, and that will be miserable or motivate yourself. Whatever has to be done, it's always your choice, guys. This quote was being mentioned by Wayne Dyer. It is you who is actually going to decide whether you want to go big in your life or you just want to end up your life in mediocrity. It is always and always you who has to think about your future, your parents' future, your relatives' future, and your friends' future. So, guys, it is your calling, it is your choice. Either you want to be extremely miserable, or you want to just motivate yourself that yes, you can go for it, and you are the actual person who is actually going to do it. Nobody else can do it for you. Always remember, the choice is always yours, guys. Whatever has to be done, it just has to be done. And I'm sure that you are going to make us all proud, because you are the one who is actually going to make it up. Perfect, guys. With that kind of belief, with that kind of confidence in you, I'll just say thank you on behalf of the Edupedia world. Keep interacting, guys, via questions, queries in the comment boxes. YouTube is providing you the best kind of facility. Extract it to the best of your benefit and advantage. Stay connected. Love you, guys. God bless you. Bye.